you can spiral in, right? It's more like there's less choice, less creation, more of a box. When you it's like you said with the doctors, a family of doctors, they, their perception of what's real and what's possible is actually smaller than most people's, I would say. I would argue that because they don't have choice, right? They're going to be a doctor. So they adopt all that, and that's what they become. And everyone sort of stands back and go, oh, look at them, so lucky. They got brought up this way. Now they're a surgeon and they've got all this money and, obviously everything's
where they only had one option.
Yeah, they didn't have any options. They had to become that. And then that of course, they get totally stuck in the system, and then they can't create because they become the expert, right? So they become their persona, and then they have to stand. This is why people won't change, because they won't give up their past, right? Who they've created themselves in the matrix as their persona, that they want to hold on to it so much, even if it's bad, because then it becomes their excuse, right? It's like, well, I can't do that because, my mum and my dad and this and that happened. And, but when it comes down to it, we can't even really prove that we weren't created 10 minutes ago, right? With all our memories intact. Let's do it. All right, we're recording. All right. Hello and welcome. We are back for part 2 of I Am. Well, actually, it's AI to I Am. And we're joined again with, I can't even speak. We're joined again by Lorenzo and Dale. Welcome, guys. Thanks for being here. And I thought I was just sort of going through the video before, just trying to work out what we did last time, right? And I was thinking about Meta, the metaverse. Meta, I think that's the name of Facebook now, isn't it? It's actually Meta. And the metaverse, which is the false light universe, I guess, right? The closed circuit. So let me just see if I've got this up, and I'll just share screen. So it says Metatron, the greatest of angels in Jewish myths and legends. Metatron is not a figure of the Hebrew Bible, but his name appears briefly in several passages of the Talmud. His legends are predominantly found in mystical Kabbalistic texts. He is variously identified as the prince or angel of the presence, which is kind of interesting.
Present or prison?
Presence, like like to be here, presence. Yeah. Or as Enoch after his bodily ascended to heaven, so no body again, right? Like it's got this sort of link to, maybe your spirit being somewhere else. He's commonly described as a celestial scribe, recording the sins and the merits of men, and as guardian of heavenly secrets of God's mediator. So he's the lesser Yahweh as the archetype of man whose name is like that of his master, right? So like a copy, right? We have this thing of, master copies and master tapes, and everything else is a copy of that. And then, of course, we have Metatron's cube, which we've all seen, which is kind of like like they've taken a bit out of the flower of life, right? But of course, the cube, it's a cube, it's a square, right? It's, a prison for your mind, Neo, made up of 13 circles that are connected in straight lines. So I just thought that was like an interesting place to start, that this is kind of, I think, where they want to take us. It says down here, according to sacred geometry, Metatron's cube represents the blueprint of creation. So what actually is Meta? All right, Metatron's cube. Is this part of this, Ready Player One reality they want to get us all into, right?
Well, probably has a lot to do with the, with the matrix, as they say, being put in. We talked about it last time, what the matrix is, what AI, what artificial intelligence, or the all-seeing eye, or the alien eye, however you want to look at it. Dale described it in an interesting way, and so did Cambell, and so did myself. So, how do you get away from it? I guess, how do you become the I am? Out of the Metra, out of the cube, even the flower of life, I always thought to be a little creepy, even though it's beautiful in a way, but you can get trapped in a beautiful prison, and you can get trapped in a wonderful geographical shape or a geometric shape, pardon me. You can get trapped in so many ways. And, what do you feel is the way to get from the AI to the I am that I am? The real God supposedly said that as well.
What do you think?
I don't know.
How do we escape?
I've actually just looked up the etymology of meta on. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Well, it's given like Greek and Latin origins, but it's basically just like a prefix. So like metaphysics, metabolic, and it means beyond, after, beyond, after, or behind. There's a prefix in Latin or Greek. It is among, with, or after, right? But it says as a Greek prefix and preposition meta, which means after or beyond, can be combined with English version of meta, which is change or alteration. So it's like what you said, right?
Beyond the change, the alteration.
Isn't it weird when you look like there's a lot of words where you think you know what they mean, and then you look up. Yeah. I mean, that's probably not the real etymology. That's just a quick Google search, right? But it comes up with alteration, which was kind of everything that we were talking about this week. And then you mentioned the significance of the Yahweh figure when using the word meta as well too, and that's it is like an alteration of what we said last time as a mimic. So it's all there.
Yeah,
but
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what they tried to do, right? With the jibby jab in the last 2020 and the reset, they're trying to alter humanity, whether they're trying to do it physically or they're trying to alter our perspective or they're trying to alter even the way we live our lives. I mean, that's already happened for all of us one way or the other, over the last 4 years. Everyone's been altered in their perspective. But, as Cambell mentioned a long time ago, if there's a change, you can make the change you want to make instead of the change they want you to make. And maybe that's how you jump from the AI to the I am. So many times Cambell's mentioned, do we really want to go back to 2020? You'll go, no, something's new. So what's new? It's up to you what's new. I figure, in my opinion, that's how you get to the I am. I am free. I am not working for the man. I am not going to listen to you when you tell me I need medical whatever. I am deciding for myself where I'm going to live. I am deciding for myself how I'm going to be. Maybe it's a simple choice, that they're trying to confuse everybody with, that, the I am is simply whatever you say it is. And then it's up to you to figure out what your potential is from there.
Yeah.
I heard a good one.
2019 is like a foreign world, isn't it?
What's that?
It's like you can already see the alteration.
Yep.
Like 2019 is it's a previous what would you call it? It's like a
previous lifetime.
It's a different reality. Sure. That reality doesn't exist anymore.
Nope.
Well, I mean, even the word alteration, is like alter, creation, right? Put them together, you get alteration.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also simple. I mean, people here in Asia where I am, we talked about that a little bit, are not as nice as they used to be. People are not as loving. They're not having as many babies, so to speak. The world and the focus, like that, they've devalued the money here by half over the last 4 years. So they've altered what money is worth. If you've just left your money in the bank, you've already lost a third of it just sitting around here, which is interesting. Canada too, where I'm from originally, everything's 3 times the price. I was just watching a video by someone that, they used to spend $250 on food in 2019, and now families are spending $1,000, 4 years later in North America. Yeah. And the government's trying to tell you, there's no inflation, it's only 1%. And you're going, why is everything 5 times as expensive if there's no inflation? So they're trying to alter, like in 1994, even how you view your reality. Oh, no, there's no inflation. Oh, no, you're still free. Oh, no, everything's the same. But it's obvious if you're an intelligent being, and I am an intelligent being, we're going to go from AI to I am. It's obvious to notice that there's a lot of BS, going on in their AI reality. So what do you do with that?
Well, I mean, I heard a good one the other day. We just need to go from the matrix to the creatrix, right? Like the matrix is where they want to stuck, and and they don't want us creating. As soon as we start thinking for ourselves and creating out, outside the box, the cube, Metatron's cube, that they can't control us, right? That's why there's so much effort put into making us believe certain narratives. And I've said it before, like YouTube's, I think YouTube's a lot worse now than mainstream media ever was when it was going. Like, people tend to view it as the truth, right? Because it's alternative or it's people, but it's so infiltrated, and there's so much just repeating, right, of whatever concepts that aren't true. They don't have any basis, but they sound good, so people go out and repeat them, and that's the cube, right? That's the box. That's just putting boundaries around yourself rather than being expansive. The circuit, right? The closed circuit, the smokeless god, the whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we just need to create more, I think.
Yeah, it's a reflexive reality.
They've created like a new echo chamber, which is a new box, which is a new meta, right? And then a lot of people will give up self-responsibility and give it to the hands of a new alternative person, right? And then take that as truth. But you know what? I listened to 2 podcasts this week because this theme has come up with me, just like on placebo effect. And like, I didn't know this one. They'd done this study. This guy, I can't remember the guy's name. It was in the podcast, and he was they've been studying placebo effect, and obviously we were able to measure that the old sugar pill and stuff would work. But then they did a study where they actually told the person that they'd be getting a placebo, and it still worked. So what the fuck is that? Like, because you're even telling them, we're not giving you any medicine. Yeah, and these are people that had they'd done studies with people that had tried that have got chronic arthritis and stuff, and they'd been on treatments for 10 years and nothing had worked. And then they said, look, we're going to actually give you a placebo, and it still works. So there's some. So
did those people? Did they know what a placebo was?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. But
I understand that.
So what is that? Like that was flipping my mind. But
I think if that's not a rhetorical question, I think that's the proof of our divinity, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's the I am. What is the placebo effect? You're doing it for yourself. You're healing yourself. You're making yourself better. Even if you know about it, I mean, wouldn't that be the best of being your own God, so to speak? And I don't want to say, an egotistical God, just that you make your own reality, I would say, regardless of what's around you. And that's an interesting study that you came across, Dale, this week, that even that you're still doing it, because I think there's no choice in that. You make your own reality from day to day, whatever it is.
Well, can I give you another weird one? So I had this week. Like I got a bit sick. When you go to Southeast Asia, you get stomach problems and that. You spend 2 days on the toilet. So I went through that, and during that period, I looked at my urine, and it was like red, and I'm going, and so I was already sick, and then I freaked out. So, and then when you see a symptom like that, it's like when you see blood, you freak out, right? And so I'm Googling, it's like blood in urine. I've got colon cancer, bowel cancer, bladder cancer, STDs, like every single thing. And I'm like, kidney stones. So I raced down and I got my urine tested. And then just in that thought, I was in panic mode because I'm like, I'm in serious trouble. I'm urinating blood. And then so I had to go get a drink, and I messaged a friend and I said, I might have to go to hospital later because I was still going to the toilet constantly. And I said, I've got blood in my urine. And he goes, no, my urine's red as well. I said, what? And he goes, we've been having 3 beetroot juices a day.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
So then I Googled, can beetroot juice make your piss red? And
of course. Of course.
So I didn't know this, and then the moment I found that out, I could feel myself get better because I was in panic that something was wrong with me. But then I honestly, I instantly felt better. And then by the end of the day, I was fine. And it was just all my mental state of like you're just creating your own reality. And I was making myself.
Is that what they call the nocebo? Is that the nocebo when you give yourself
something like
an illness?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you been drinking beets?
Oh yeah, like constantly. Yeah.
I found that too. My wife was like that the first time she ate beets when she came to Canada. She goes, what the hell? Everything's red. What's going on? So the same thing. So we went through that, and they go, no, it's okay. You eat lots of beets. It just happens.
Hey Campbell, I don't know if you remember, but when I was a kid, we used to drink blueberry Red Bears. They were like a vodka mixer. Do you remember them?
No.
Everything would go blue. So I should have remembered.
Gee,
actually, can I bring one more up just because I thought this was really weird? I don't know. Can you see that picture? Remember this guy?
Mr. Tyson.
Is that George or George Foreman?
Yeah, George Foreman, right?
George.
So I'm just thinking about the placebo effect before I went to bed last night, and I went onto Facebook, and this comes up. I'll read it real quick. He goes, I was making my re-entry into boxing in the 1980s, and the naysayers were lined up like they were going to a picnic. But then most people thought, he's a preacher, he's not a boxer. They said, oh, he's too old. People said, yeah, he's too fat. Okay, that was true. But the point is, when I looked in the mirror, and what I saw looking back at me was a slim young man. The secret is to always look at yourself and make sure that you see what you see is what you've got, and not to accept what other people say. The fact that I saw myself as a fresh younger propelled me to run farther, hit the bags harder, and skip the rope. I let that negativity roll off me, and if it wasn't positive, I didn't hear it. So he literally, through his own belief, and he's a religious man too. That he just believed that he was younger. He believed that he was stronger, and through doing that, he was. And you see that with a lot of professional athletes. They kind of crack the code of the matrix within that little bit of achieving, these ridiculous sporting feats. And it's all on their belief and how they look at themselves. And if we apply that to anything, I know even like with you, Cambell, you said like you didn't know how you were going to go to America, and you just knew you were going, right?
Yeah, you put bags, man.
But we don't do that all the time. That was like one example of you did it, right? And I've done that too. And then I fall back into, I can't do this, there's another day, and all that sort of stuff. But then I think the solution is trying to stay more in that belief of like, I am not my experience. I'm not just my experience. I can be anything I want to be. I think that's the key.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it comes back to what is reality, but I kind of view it as, I get this picture of like a body with a camera on instead of a head, right? Like a TV camera, but it's projecting a picture onto a screen, right? That's hanging in front of you. Like I think we literally create the reality that we walk into.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to a bit of Neville Goddard recently, and he talks about he basically says you create your next day the night before. So whatever you're sort of focusing on and state you're in as you go to sleep, that will help create the next day. But I mean, look at little kids, right? A little kid will just say, I'm a knight, and he's got a stick and that's it. And he's running around. And
he's a freaking knight.
I would say he sees a sword in his hand. He sees himself as a knight. That's what he is. And they become it, right? And that's what we get, that's what we've lost. That's what we get programmed out of us, right? Is this belief that we are the creators. It all starts and stops with us. And it's exactly like you said. It's how we see ourselves that's how we project ourselves, right? And how we project ourselves, creates, the experiences we come into.
Like creativity,
People don't understand how important or how powerful imagination is. and even how limiting your imagination can be from where you are. Like, what are you imagining? Like, are you imagining yourself taller or richer, or you have 2 girlfriends instead of 1 girlfriend, or you look younger, or you have red shoes instead of blue shoes? But people can't recall as the best is, like Campbell mentioned, the imagination you had as a child. You know, I'm going to fly, I'm going to go to the moon, I'm going to be a dragon, you know, I'm going to be whatever it is you can imagine, you can make real. And then I want to tie into the I am. A lot of things people seem to forget is their dreams, and not that, you know, the woo-woo sense of it, but, you know, what's going on? Why do we spend a third of our life in that part of the world? Where do we come from before we're born? You know, where do we go when we close our eyes? Why do you know, scientists will tell you, as they're always wrong, oh, you just dream to regenerate, you're tired, your body has to come back. But we all know what they tell you about the heart is very limited. What they tell you about your lungs is very limited. So I would say, if you take that further, what they tell you about why you dream is way beyond just to regenerate your physical body. You know, maybe it's to give you that feeling, and I've had that feeling, so I can talk from my own experience, to bring back what I learned in my dreams into this world, so I can be more flexible, so I can move forward in a different way, because my dreams do give me other options that I don't get in the real world, so to speak, because I'm more solid. Maybe I'm dealing with my day-to-day. There's other interference, you know, people you talk to, the food you eat. But when you're dreaming, you're pure potential. And if you take it for more than just a dream, you can take that back into this world, and that becomes the I am, right? That you know, instead of letting them dream your world for you, like movie and TVs and all this other garbage they give you all the time, you know, you dream your own world forward, what you want to do, what you need to do, how you're going to do it.
Yeah, it's because if you're gaining control of your mind back, right? Because if you think of, you got all these programs running, then something, so that's instilling your thought patterns that are controlling where the projection's coming from. I kind of think too that I think a lot of people are held back, including myself, on, you know, I don't know what I want. A lot, do you know what I mean? A lot of it, because you don't manifest anything. I get in a state of, I don't know, like, what do I actually want, right? That's when I feel I don't manifest anything, because I'm in like a stagnant period of, like, I don't know, like, what do I want, right? And then when I really know what I want, you'll almost always get it, right?
Yeah,
and I can remember as a kid. I used to, like, leave my body, and I've never been able to do that, but I remember the reason I could do it was I saw that Boy Who Could Fly movie. I was about 4 years old, and I didn't see that as I saw that as reality. I'm like, that was in a movie. Yeah, oh, that kid can fly, and then so I believed that much, that I could fly, that I left my body, and that's what it was. And because people go, I can learn how to do it again. I'm like, I can't learn how to do it again, because the reason I could do it was I believed it. I knew that I could fly. I knew it to, like, everything within me. Whereas now there's doubt on, you know.
Well, I think that's why they put up hero worship, right? Like superheroes and movie stars, is like you idolize them instead of becoming like that. You go, oh, I like Superman, or I like this dancer, or I like this, and I like that, and that's enough. Then you go back to your regular work, you go back to the Matrix, you go back to the job. I'm a fan of this person, or I'm a fan of, instead of, when, like as Dale said, when I was young, and even now, you didn't want to just idolize Superman. You wanted to be Superman, right? You wanted to be the Fantastic Four, whatever, or you wanted to be Spider-Man, so you were imagining swinging or flying or dreaming or whatever, swimming underwater forever without breathing. If you wanted to be Aquaman, is another silly example. You weren't just saying, oh, this person's great, so I'm going to just give them my money and my time and my attention. You're going to go there an example, like Dale said, of what I can do, the boy that could fly. Why not me? You know?
Yeah. And isn't that interesting? That's I couldn't help but think of, you know, the Christian religion. You know, everyone loves to go and talk about Jesus and gather, and, oh my God, he was so wonderful. But how many people are trying to live like Jesus lived? You know, this is the difference, right? But yeah, we've got weak muscles. They've weakened our creative muscles, like to the point where we can really only conceptualize a future out of our past, right? Out of all this information that's been beamed at us. And then most of the time, you know, you'll get a good idea. I want to do this, and then you'll talk yourself out of it. Oh, but this, oh, but that, or but I need money, or but I need this, or but he tried it and it didn't work. And that's all we need to get over, right? You look at all these, you know, like extreme sports people who do these crazy things, right? But the only reason they can do that is because that's who they believe they are. You know, like you can't jump a BMX over, you know, a bloody 20-meter canyon unless you believe that you can do it, that you're that superhero. And that's why they keep going forward. And everyone else is watching them going, oh my God, oh, that dude doesn't think he's going to, he knows he's going to make it. And everyone else is like freaking out, right? So we've just got to, get back to that, like you said, belief, right, in ourselves and in our own power.
I'm even thinking, like, how many people follow their parents' careers? You know, like we have like a whole family of doctors or a whole family of teachers, right? And that's because, and it might be a very high, you know, like a high performing profession. You know, I remember reading this neurosurgeon's book, and like his dad was a neurosurgeon, his brother was a neurosurgeon. So, you know, a kid that grows up in a housing council flat doesn't see the possibility of being a neurosurgeon, whereas the kid that's father was, he's seen the path laid out and he knows the steps. So that's not a big task for him, right? So, and I think so much, if you look at that as reality on a whole, like the incessant need to show us the reality that they want us to create, like incessant for so much time. To even the conspiracy realm now is like, oh, this is what they're going to do because they've shown us, and look what they've shown us before, and what they've shown us before happened, and now they're doing it again. See, it's going to happen. And it's just this self-fulfilling prophecy within the collective that this is what's going to happen because we've had to show you all these times, and that always happens. So why the need to incessantly show that? Because whatever this force is, it knows. Don't ever let these beings think outside of my finite programs and structure, because it's like fucking terrified, just trying to draw you back. No, this is a program. This is a program. Don't ever think you can exist beyond that, right?
I mean, even now,
and it just goes back to it's like how, like we can alter our own reality, right? We really can. We can start playing with this reality.
Yes, that's what I want to get to, man. It's funny, isn't it? It's like, you know, the whole self-help industry, like it's not really built on the information that much, because we all understand the information, right? Okay, I've got to visualize, I've got to get the feeling, I've got to do this. The whole industry is built on then trying to get you to believe that, to get you to actually do it, to get you into doing it, right? It's funny, you know, we have, all I need to do is this, but then what we lack is the belief. That's why we don't do it. I mean, if you truly believed that if you visualized yourself in your perfect life every day for a month, you would do it. If you knew that would make it come true, you would do it. So this is what we're lacking, I think, is the belief in ourselves. So we can read as many books as we want and go to all the courses and, you know, self-help. But unless we do something with it and start using that to turn our maybe into a definitely, then it's kind of all for naught, right?
And since, as you mentioned, you know, we're the ones making the dream. A lot of things are one of the major things I found most people don't consider is how you've got to clean your vehicle completely to see. Like if you've got a camera with a dirty lens, you're going to clean it. Right? If your car needs an oil change, you're going to change it. You know, whatever. If your computer's got a virus, you're going to get rid of it, right? Or you're going to get a new computer. Let's say, as the silly examples, let's say, you know, if your car is broken, you may get a new one, or you may change the tires. So if you're making the dream, you're doing the dream, maybe you've got to completely clear, and, you know, focus your system away from everything you've learned from the time you were 3. Like I see parents here walk around with their children that no, bad, good, no, go this, no, do there, you know, like bad girl, you can't have a candy, or good girl, like even 2 or 3-year-olds, I've seen like mothers walking their 3 years and go, you know, dame, which means bad in Japanese, right? And I'm going like, what are you doing? You know, like, you know, the girl will run away, or I see 2-year-olds that want to escape their parents, You know, you see these little kids, they put them on the ground and they don't care. You put them on the ground and like even little boys, I've seen them do this to their, leave me alone. I want to crawl over the cliff, or I want to, you know, I want to fall over here. Like they want to experience it. And the parents are always going, no, back in the cage, you know, back in the metaverse, no, back. So, you know, you almost literally have to go clear to day dot, as Cambell's put it, or all the way back to first breath. Because if you want to create your life new, which, you know, I'll put my hand up, maybe you've got to go through the effort of uncreating, you know, all the BS you've already created. It's not so much as, oh, I can just forget about my past and move. I haven't seen that work with anybody. You know, you know, you can't really do that. You've made wherever you are, you know, Dale's where he is, Cambell's where he is, I am where I am. We've all made our choices to be in the life we're sitting in, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, and fantastic. And then we get to unmake that, and through that effort, maybe we get the power to exercise, you know, as Dale said, that, you know, your imagination, that bit of ourselves that hasn't been exercised, gone fallow, you know, vestigial, as they say. I guess I'd like to use that word, which I don't think there's such a thing as a vestigial imagination, only one that hasn't been played with enough.
What do you think about this too? Because I don't think your imagination, your creativity doesn't come from anyone else, right? So there's no copying or mimicking there. So like your true imagination that is devoid of program is yours. That is your individual creation, right? Because, you know, even like with music and stuff, they try and, you know, there's so much music's like hashtagged and copied and all this sort of stuff too. But you can, you know, when you hear a new song, am I freezing up?
No, you're good.
Yeah. That was all right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh. No, you're good.
Yes, you heard the song.
It's a bit black. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you heard a song. So many songs are like are mimics and copies, right? And you can hear, I guess, the part of the unique artist within the song, but the reason you like it is because you like the original. Whereas when a truly unique song comes out, you're like, oh, okay, it hits differently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a video this morning, a short. I couldn't believe it. You know how people make the shorts and they get someone's video and they sit in front of it and go, oh, look at this.
You love that.
It's really fun. And this chick was watching one of those videos. So she's like, oh, look at this video. And the guy in the video is going, look at this. And it's just like this fractal sameness, right? It's really crazy.
Oh, that is it. Yeah. I've seen that though. So it's someone doing a video.
Yeah.
Is it someone doing a video, someone pointing to it, and then someone pointing to someone pointing during the video?
Yeah. So so next it's going to be like someone pointing at someone pointing at someone pointing at someone. It's just going to be this woohoo, back into space kind of thing. But that's the spiral down, right? Like when you can spiral in, right? It's more like there's less choice, less creation, more of a box. When you it's like you said with the doctors, you know, a family of doctors, they, you know, their perception of what's real and what's possible is actually smaller than most people's, I would say. I would argue that because they don't have choice, right? They're going to be a doctor. So they adopt all that and that's what they become. And everyone sort of stands back and go, oh, look at them, so lucky. You know, they got brought up this way. Now they're a surgeon and they've got all this money and, you know, obviously everything's
where they only had one option.
Yeah, they didn't have any options. They had to become that. And then that of course, you know, they get totally stuck in the system and then they can't create because they become the expert, right? So they become their persona and then they have to stand, you know, this is why people won't change because they won't give up their past, right? Who they've created themselves in the matrix as their persona, that they want to hold on to it so much, even if it's bad, because then it becomes their excuse, right? It's like, well, I can't do that because, you know, my mum and my dad and this and that happened. And, you know, but when it comes down to it, you know, we can't even really prove that we weren't created 10 minutes ago, right? With all our memories intact.
It's the fear of loss. You know, if we're talking about how to go from sorry, but, you know, for just quickly, if we're talking how to go from AI to I am, maybe the bridge is not to have any fears. You know, as Cambell said, you have a fear of losing your job, your prestige, your money, your you know, your status, you know, whatever, your ability to be or think or to feel some way. And as you know, Dale said, no choice but to become a doctor, and you think they're lucky, but if you look back at it, maybe they're very unlucky, like you said, because they have limited options in life, and if they stop being a doctor, what do? Maybe they don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and I was thinking about it last night, like, what do these people even do? Like, what's their experience of their life? I mean, obviously, if you're a surgeon or something, there's a lot of hours, right? A lot of stress, but they might have money, but what do? They just sit in their big house, or they go to the same country club or the same expensive restaurants. They don't actually experience much. You don't see them out on safari and backpacking through, you know, third world countries and getting. They just surrounded by these sameness, right? Like same thing every day, same routine, but they feel so good doing it because they've got this impression of themselves, you know, being better than other people. Like, it's just everything is so reversed, right? Because, you know, imagine sitting around at a fireplace and having a chat. You know, who would you rather talk to, right? The guy who's been a surgeon for 20 years and that's all he knows, or the guy who's traveled to 50 countries, right? I mean,
yeah, I agree. I was just thinking before. I don't. Is there a bit of a lag here? I've just noticed
a little bit, but it's not too bad. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, like I got to go to the Matrix again with what does Morpheus say to me? Actually, he said when he's trying to jump the building, right, and he doesn't quite make it. So this is, I think, relates well to maybe people like ourselves, because he says he goes, "Don't think you are, know you are." And maybe he says that in another scene, but yeah. Do you remember the bit? He says, "Don't think you are, know you are." It's going back to like what like George Foreman said, but when he goes to make the jump, he still doesn't make it, right? So even when he's shown, right, this reality can be played with. You can bend the laws of this reality. You can create within this false reality. Even then, he still doesn't make it, right, because there's just an itch that's blocking him. And I feel that's kind of where we're at the moment, right? We're aware of the building blocks of what's going on. We can see that it's fake, but it's still on the daily. It still brings you back into that box. Like at times,
we've still got the programming, right?
It's still,
like you know, you go to run and you're like, yes, I've done it. I'm already there. I'm doing it. And as soon as you leave, you're like, oh shit, I'm going to fall. Right? Like this background programming just pops into your head, and that, right? Then you get splat, which is
have to do with the lag you mentioned.
You got to do it another 10 times. Right?
Yeah, there's the lag in changing, or you got to get to your core beliefs. I really feel you make a choice, even when you're 3 or 4, you make a belief system choice way back then, and you forget about it when you're 44 or 54. And, you know, that stays with you anyways. It's like part of your energy. You've made that choice, even if you were 2 or 3 or 5 or 8. You know, you made a choice what girls are, what your life is, what's possible, what's not. You know, the traumatic experiences you have in your life. You know, I'll never trust love again. You know, maybe someone broke up with you when you were 16, or your mother, you know, slapped you too much, and you go, I can never trust, you know, mothers ever again. I don't know, whatever you tell yourself when you're 7 or 8. And like you said, then you're trying to jump that mother building, or you're trying to jump the relationship building, or, you know, it doesn't matter what Neil told you. If you still have that belief, like Cambell said, you're going to have that doubt and fall down. And so I get back to recapitulation. You got to clear that really down to the core of who you are. And then maybe you can make a change. You know, maybe that's the hard work. Maybe like Dale, at least if you admit you don't know what you want, that's beautiful, because then you're being honest with where you are in your life, right? A lot of people won't do that. I go, well, here I am. You know, I'm in a beautiful world. I've got nice food, nice weather, whatever, but I still don't know what I want. But that's amazing, because a lot of people are even too afraid to get to that place where they're sitting there going, I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what I don't want, and I'm not sure, but I better get on that. But at least that's a step in the right direction, I would feel.
Yeah, I agree. It seems scary, but once you get into that sort of rhythm, it's much more fun, right? You know, I'm looking at traveling again soon, and you know, I'm going to buy a shipping container. Like someone said, just sell everything, just sell it all, and you know, get a suitcase. But yeah, there's still this bit like, oh well, you know, I'd still like something to come back to, you know, like, so we do hold on to all this stuff, right? Where, you know, maybe if I was just like, yep, there's only get out there, I'm covering the world, everything will happen, and I sell everything. Well, you know, maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. Maybe I will now, right? But
I reckon
we've got to get over ourselves, right? And they say know thyself. And that's where recapitulation comes in, because the self that we think we know is not ourself, right? It's based on all these opinions of, you know, from us and others of certain situations, right? Dave's got some cars pulling up. You know, so if we can go back with the recapitulation and see things from a different perspective, then we can start to realize, oh, okay, I'm not dumb. That teacher was just a real prick, right? I'm not this. That person was just mean. I'm actually much better than I think I am. And I think that's really the power of recapitulation, right? It's almost like a reprogramming. And recapitulation, by the way, is to just go back in your life, view it, write down all the people you've ever met, and basically review those any situations that come up, and try and look at them from a different, more clearer perspective.
Yeah,
because then you're. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I always keep jumping in with the lag. Sorry,
you're right.
I think it's a surprise. I think something I was discussing with a friend even today or yesterday is like, people get taught that a surprise is a bad thing, right? You don't want to be surprised unless you're surprised with extra money, unless it's the kind of surprise you expect, right? You're surprised with, you know, a better gift on Christmas.
You expect.
Yeah, it's the kind of, but if you get it but a little person or a little child will like the surprises they don't expect. You know, as an example, when Cambell told me he's going to North America, he told me 6 weeks ago, and my feeling was maybe I'll see him soon. And at the time I go, how is that going to happen? I don't know. Like, I'm here, I'm doing that. And then suddenly the world seems to be shifting for me over the last month, where maybe I will end up back in North America. Maybe I will end up seeing him face to face. Maybe I will be doing other things. You kind of let the surprises, and it was a surprise when Cambell told me, oh my goodness, he's dropping everything and leaving. But that was a good surprise. You know, it was a surprise. I said, oh, wait a minute, there's more opportunity here for something unique. And how am I going to do that? I'm not sure. But, you know, my feeling or my imagination, like, you know, a little person will not wonder how they're going to become a flying knight on a horse. They're just going to go, I'm just going to go do it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I think that's one of the best ways to grow, right? Just put yourself out to the wind with some belief, you know, trust yourself, trust that everything will work out, and see what happens. You know, sometimes the what's they call it? The uncharted trips are the best, right? That's where we learn the most.
Yeah. I think it's just when you change your thinking like that to you're thinking in like expansion of possibilities, and again that's taking you out of finite structures again, right? Because it always wants you within a finite rigid structure. So if you're expanding what you think's possible in your life, and like I'm not preaching to no one. I do this all the time. I always limit myself. It's these nugget moments where I'm like, shit, yeah, I'm in charge of my own reality, and then you start building it again, because I think so much of this construct it has collective programs, but it's the real control is the individual programs, and it knows again because I think we're a fractal of creator, that it has access to that information of every individual. So it knows who you are on all levels, probably better than you know yourself, because you have amnesia. So therefore it can put collective, it knows your individual collective programs. It knows what your your traumas are, your emotional ties to things that have happened to, like how many people never move forward from the death of a loved one or a real traumatic event, and that becomes their entire identity of their life, is this one thing that happened to them. Someone sent me one the other day. There's this guy that walks around the Gold Coast in a bikini. Like, it's quite creepy. And it's like a G-string bikini. He's like an old guy. And then I'm like, oh, that's fully, I go like, the world's messed up. And she's like, no, apparently that guy, he ran over this girl and killed her by accident years ago. And the girl was wearing this bikini. And now he's taken on the identity of that person. But, But the point I'm making is that, one traumatic incident, then that he's programmed for life and completely ruled by that. So how much are I mean, how much are you your experiences? Like, yes, you are your experiences. They've made you who you are, but are you just your experiences? Is there something else that, you know, how many of your experiences were programmed experiences anyway? And then you can like look back on everything that's happened in your life and you're like, okay, why did I make that decision? All right, that was a fear-based decision because I didn't want to move on, or I was caught up in this one thing, but you know, maybe I needed to make that. And then like you can go nuts like reevaluating everything you've done. And this is one of Facebook memories, because I look at like stuff that I wrote 8 years ago and I'm like, you absolute moron. Why would you say that? I love Facebook memories because it shows like real-time growth.
Yeah.
I've even like some of the things that I wrote, I'm like, yeah, I was kind of on the money, kind of getting there. Then like I could see progression in my thinking over time. And I'm sure I'll look back in 5 years and like this video or something else and go, oh, what was I thinking? You know?
Oh yeah, I was so off track.
So you're in a constant state of expansion, whereas the program, again, it's got you in a finite structure based on controlled, predictable, patterned behavior, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things. You know, it's like Jason says, like just break pattern, just do something different. If you go for a walk every day, walk outside your house and turn the other way and start walking, then you normally just little things like this, right? Just mess with the matrix, and I think, you know, doing that brings possibilities that we don't, you know, we can't conceive of, right? Because we're literally stepping out of the program and doing something different, going the other direction, whatever it may be. So, you know, I think that's a big one, and just, you know, the biggest part of that is trusting, right? Trusting yourself, trusting whatever, that everything will be okay and that's all right to do. And that's the bit that people stumble on, rather than saying, well, let's see what happens and I'll deal with the consequences later, right? Like, could be good, could be bad, but let's see. You know, we've lost that spirit of adventure, right? Like a little kid, they'd be like, right, something different might happen. They'd be running off the other way, right? Just to see what happened. But we're all like these, oh, I don't know. What will people think, right? If they see me walking backwards down the street.
Well, you know, when I was teaching Cambell, I remember, I used to teach these rough, tough kids, and their whole life was, you know, like they never really did much. They come from very poor families. They did the same thing every day, the same traumas, and every few months we would take them. We'd take them out on a school, you know, like a 3-night school trip, and the change we saw in these kids and the expansion just by doing. Like, I remember we took these kids who were 18 years old and they'd never seen the ocean. They'd never left their hometown, and watching these kids gobsmacked at seeing the open water. But for me, thinking back on it now, it was just that these kids, like their minds are expanding because they had a new experience. So like there was just day to day, and then every few months it's like, wow, like I've seen this whole new place, and they're like, there's different people here that I'm used to seeing. Like, I remember we took them to Melbourne once, and they couldn't believe all these. Oh, Campbell's gone, is he?
Looks like, but we're still going and recording.
Are we still recording?
We are, yeah.
Yeah, we took these kids to Melbourne once, and they were like shocked by the amount of like ethnic people there and Asian people, because we were from a small town with, you know, very, very white small town. So like, basically, it was, you know, they were seeing a whole different world just through having that new experience. I don't know where I'm going with this, but
no, I agree. I think you have to take the opportunity in our life. I think our higher selves probably want us to be free. They probably want us to see new opportunities. They probably want us to enjoy our life in a new way. I mean, you know, Cambell mentioning going the other way reminded me, is like when I go for a walk after dinner, I'd always go in a certain direction. And one day I decided to go the other way. Just, you know, maybe I'm going to. So going the other way, I went on a main street and there was a bus, and there was this old big lady that I've seen many times, like an older lady, kind of chunky. And, you know, I've waved at her a few times and she couldn't get on the bus. She kept trying to get up on the bus, right? She was an old lady with 3 bags and nobody was helping her. So I literally, the voice said, you know, go help her. You know, you have to go over the thing that says, oh no, an old lady, you can't touch him, you can't do this, it's Japan. But you know, I literally went behind her, put my hand like under her bottom and pushed her up on the bus, right? And you know, I got such a thrill and such a shock and so many thank yous and passing her bag along, you know, just for taking that moment to be different, that to this day I've got a charge from it. And the reason I'm mentioning this is maybe that's how you get from the AI to the I am, is your life will open doors or give you opportunities, whether it's going to Melbourne, as Dale said, or something's going to happen in everyone's life that's out of the box. And you've got to like take the opportunity to move yourself there, whatever it is. And especially if you're asking to be free or you're asking to be out of the matrix, you'll get these little hints. And it's not from thinking about it. I think you've got to put them into action, and then you take it out of your mind, because I think that's where the trap is in the thought process, and you put it into your body. You know, why do sports athletes, why can they do what they do? They're not thinking about, you know, hitting the ball anymore. They're not thinking about catching the football or whatever. It's become body memory. We've all done martial arts. You know, yeah. Dale's done it. I've done it. Cambell's talked about it. Eventually it becomes body memory. And that's where I think your change comes, because your body starts to learn how to be different and free. And then, yeah. But you've got to do the training, right? Like I said, you're not going to become a martial artist without training. You're not going to become free without training yourself. You're not going to become out of the AI. You've got to, like, literally, it might take you 20 years. You know, how long does it take to become a professional baseball guy? They probably start when they're 8, you know, and by the time they're 28, they've mastered their craft, right? So, you know, 20 years later.
So do you think body memory is the intuition as well?
Is, pardon me?
The lag. I was just going to say that. I will speak when you address me, and then I'll know.
What did you say about body memory, Dale?
No, I was just, because you were saying body memory, it becomes so instinctual that you just know that.
Yeah.
And I guess, so are you trying to say that the more that you're following intuition, that listening to the intuition becomes, that's like it. Yeah. So you're saying like that's like a body memory. You just go with it because you know. And you're like, yeah, this worked last time. I can trust. I'll just keep going with it.
Everybody thinks the reality is only between their ears, and I would say that's the trap. We get trained from, you know, when I was little, I didn't think. I dreamed. I imagined. I've mentioned this before. Asian people used to say they think from their center, not from their head, from their hara, their second brain, your intuition, your dreams. That's what I mean about dreams. So all of these things are coming. The matrix, in my opinion, is right here. Right? It's right between those two ears. You get programmed here. That's what schooling's all about. You know, Cambell talked last time about showing the work, not that other bullshit, which is just about putting you back in your head instead of getting the answer. So, you know, if you want to get out of the AI to the I am, yes, intuition, yes, imagination, you know, all of these things, body memory. Again, if you're doing martial arts and you start thinking, you're going to be on the ground before you know what's going on, right? You can't think. You have to move faster than thought.
Yeah. That's training, right? That training is just to get us to change our habits, right? To get us to react, basically. So, like, the training that we probably all need is just to, you know, do different things, right? To take a chance. Like, that's like, the more you do that, the easier it will become. You know, we've all seen these crazy people, right? Like, who will just run and jump off a cliff, you know, woo, and they don't even think about it. The reason they can do that is they've taken chances like that and done that kind of behavior thousands of times, where we haven't. We've sat there and had a look and gone, oh, it looks a bit far, you know. So we don't have anything to base that on apart from fear, really, right? Which is based on nothing, because we've actually never done it. So it's this crazy loop, but I think they're the muscles we need to build a like belief and, you know, taking a chance, doing something different. You know, it's like you with the lady, Lorenzo, you know, if you build muscles of every time you go out, you're helping people who look like they need it, well, that's just who you become, right? And then that becomes a reaction, and you're, Lorenzo, the helping guy. And so you can become whatever you want. You know, you can become the rich guy, the nice guy, the cool guy or girl, whatever it may be, right? The world traveler, the creator. But you've got to do it when it feels uncomfortable. It's like that saying, right? You've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's kind of it. It's like I'm doing ice baths recently, right? Every morning, jumping in, you know, 9-degree ice bath, which isn't that cold for ice baths, but it's pretty cool when you're sitting there for 3 minutes. And every time, you know, it's not like it ever gets easier. Like, you don't walk up and go, oh, I've done this 3 times, you know, woohoo. You know, you're sitting there and you've got to stay in there and change those habits. And, you know, just for that, I think that's probably more of the benefit of an ice bath than any, you know, physical healing type stuff. Is the mental thing, is putting yourself in a situation that you don't necessarily want to be in, but you know that it'll have benefits, you know, payoffs in the future.
How have you found it? How long have you been doing that?
Only about 10 days or so. So I'm just a newbie, but I'm finding it's good. Yeah, like you really, you know, there's no one else there when you're sitting in an ice bath, right? It's just you. There's no one holding you down. You know, you're the one that's got to say, I'm not getting out, you know, now I'm going to do 3 minutes, whatever. So it's a real mental thing. Good for your breathing, man. You can't do much but breathe in there, you know, but I think it's good just because it gets you comfortable with being uncomfortable. It gets you into that state of mind where you're going to take more chances. You're going to, you know, believe that you can achieve more as well, right? Like the first time someone says, "Oh, jump in that ice bath for 3 minutes," you don't have the belief that you can do that. You know, the picture in your mind is you jumping in and then jumping straight out again, right? Going, oh my God. So you have to build yourself mentally into that person before you can do it. It's like that saying, everything's created twice. Right? Everything's first created as a thought, and I shouldn't be pointing to my head because that is the trap, right? They get us to think in our head and intellectualize everything and left brain everything, especially, right? And get us down into details and minutia rather than being expansive.
Yeah, it's it makes me think like professional athletes. You know, they said like no one could break the 10-second, and now it's like clearly. Broken and
Roger Bannister. What was it, the 14-minute mile or the 12-minute mile?
Oh, yeah.
What was it like? And literally, surgeons came out when he said he was going to do it, and they said it's impossible. Your heart will explode. And he did it.
Really? And
then in the next year, I think it was somewhere like around 15,000 people or something did the same thing, right? Because they mentally it was unachievable, right? Because someone else had done it. Which is interesting.
Well, do you remember Kieran Perkins Cambell growing up, the swimmer?
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you remember him, Lorenzo, but he was like the greatest ever 1,500 meter swimmer. Australian swimmer, and he smashed the world record in like 92, like smashed it, and then he smashed his own record again, and they just said no one will ever swim as far as this guy. Like he's 30 seconds from the best, and I think Michael Phelps like destroyed his record.
Yeah, I think he took him out. Yeah. Like, and how's Michael Phelps? You know, what did he get, 9 golds or something? Like in sprints, in marathon swims, and all these different genres of swimming, and people would have said that's impossible. That is, yeah, sure, you can be the best. Sprint freestyler and maybe breaststroker, but you can't be that and the 1500 and the 400 and the relay. There's no way it's possible. But he didn't believe that, and so so that corny, right? Turn impossible to impossible.
Yeah, I would say
all those high achievers have the same thing in common. They all, when you hear their story, they all tell you they knew. They had that self-belief. That's like Mike Tyson. He said, I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet. He knew that when he was 15. Like he was just told, like he believed it to his core that he was that, and therefore he was.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no worries. AI to I am, I think everyone gets trained, and I know everyone gets trained to be told what to do. Maybe that's the biggest secret and the biggest fear is to go to the I am, to get out of that. You really have to sit like maybe the scariest thing most people have to deal with their life is when no one's telling them what to do. You get up in the morning, no one's telling you where to go, no one's telling you what to eat, no one's telling you what to create, no one's telling you how to be. You have to sit there and tell yourself. I mean, the ultimate in freedoms is I am going to do this or I am not going to do this. And we get trained from the time we're little. Once again, maybe when you're born, someone's always telling you what to do. Go to school, go home, go to work, pay your taxes, come home for dinner. It's time for lunch. It's time to go to sleep. It's time to do your homework. It's time to start dating. It's time to stop dating. It's time, whatever. It's time for this, that, and the other thing. And so much training, even by the time you're 30 or 40 and you decide you want to be free, you have this whole habit of being told what to do. every moment of your life, from the time you open your eyes to the time, time to go to bed, etc. And then you're sitting there one day, like Dale says, you go, oh my goodness, I have to tell myself what to do today. I don't know. I don't know. Like what's going on? Where, like, I'm happy, I'm healthy, I have enough money in my pocket. What do I want to do? Well, anything you want. Well, what does that mean? Anything you decide. That's probably, I would say, the scariest thing for most people is, well, it's up to you.
Yeah, how many people sit around just doing nothing because they think I don't have the money. Like, and that literally just makes them sit on the couch and do nothing, instead of going, well, I've got no money, but I'm going to do this. How's that going to happen? I wonder I wonder how that'll work. So we're our own worst enemies. We know all these things, and I think that AI to I am is literally from the closed circuit, being told what to do, nanny state, to belief, right? Believing in yourself, and that there are no limits, and that you can create whatever you want.
Yeah,
it's quite a journey.
Hey Dale, how did you end up where you are? Why did you decide to go from Australia to where you're living, to the kind of life you have right now? What did you have to change? Your kind of life and beliefs and ideas.
That's it's a good question. I had to strip. Sorry if the truck's a bit loud. I had to strip a lot of programming I had around scarcity, because I very much had I had the house and the mortgage and secure job and all these kind of things, and ultimately I did make a choice through some things that were thrown at me first, but I had to make a choice that I thought was right. So I was following my intuition that has actually opened up a completely different life and path for me, just like I know yourself. So and I think it's just a process for me. It's been a process, but I don't know. It's a tough one. I wouldn't say like I'm where I'm meant to be, but I am where I'm meant to be. I am where I'm meant to be now. I like setting small term, like little, not even goals, but just little small things that I like to knock off. And then after this stage, within the next couple of weeks, I'm back to limbo land again, which is, and when you're not attached to things, you're very much more open to new experiences, that you can be guided by intuition when you don't have a rigid plan of the future. Because when you've got a rigid plan of the future, then you have to stick to that rigid plan.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like, you don't have a job, so when you, I don't know that it's so much a holiday, but when your holiday finishes, you go, like, what do you do then? Like, you've just got this choice, right? It's like, what do I do? I've got no job to go back to. I don't have this life that's sort of rolled out with all these points I need to hit. What do I do?
Yeah.
Right. That must
but
be
you know what? People will hear that too. People will hear that and they'll go, "Oh, well, that's easy for you. Like, you haven't got kids." Which is true, right? But like, I was even saying that to someone the other day. Like, there's benefits and I wouldn't even say negatives. It's just like they're different life paths. And I'm in that position where I am now, where I haven't got a partner, I haven't got children, I basically haven't got much. But I actually got there through choices. Whether that's a right or wrong thing to do. I'm not saying it's right, I'm not saying it's wrong. But I'm saying I'm in that position because of decisions and choices I've made. And then the more I've looked at now is like, well, how many of those decisions and choices I've made were programmed decisions? Did I actually fall for the eugenics operation where I did want to have children?
You're not going to breed, dude.
I've thought about all these things, right? But I think ultimately now it's the more conscious you become, the more you're making decisions based off your intuition. So I might be a collection of where I am now based off a mixture of intuition and my creation coming through, and also a mixture of programs. And that's the total of where I am now. So where I want to be in 10 years is something that is more following my soul, is where my soul wants me, following my intuition, and not so much programs, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful that there's three men here. We've all have and don't have certain things, right? I don't have any children either. Campbell's made some sons. You know, I have a partner, but and Dale has neither. And yet here we are, you know, three men deciding for ourselves that we want to be free in our various ways by accepting responsibility, whatever that is, of what brought us to where we're sitting, you know, in different parts of the world. And yet, I would say the commonality, like you said, Dale, which is, even if you want to end close to that, is choice. You made a choice. Isn't that the biggest thing that the Matrix tries to tell you? You have no choice. You have to pay your mortgage. You have no choice. You have to go to work. You know, you have no choice. You have to die when you're 94 or whatever. You know, you have no choice. This is life. You know, you have no choice. You have to breathe, or you have no choice. You can't fly. And then, you know, people of imagination go, well, actually, F you. You know, I think I'll choose something else. I have a different choice.
Yeah.
Why? Because I say so.
Yeah. Just test it. I mean, we all end up where we are because of the choices we've made. I think that's pretty clear, right? So if you want something different, make different choices, you know, and you know, the whole, you know, poor little me syndrome, like people are like, oh, but I'm stuck because of this, or this horrible thing happened, or I don't have enough money. I mean, you know, they're all choices. Just understand they're all choices, and you're welcome to make them, but they're going to take you somewhere that you probably don't want to go, right? So, you know, we're always creating, you know, whether that's complaining or dreaming, right? We're still creating. So I think if people understood that a bit more and were a bit more, you know, careful of their thoughts and the words they spoke and the little scenarios they let themselves get into in their minds, then things can change pretty quick. I think, you know, that's like you said, the mind, the brain, that's the matrix, right? It just keeps us going around in circles with all these buts and all these, you know, basically buts really, aren't they? Right? I can do this but. You know, if you get out of that thinking and just start to realize that you are potential and that's really all there is, right? I don't actually think there's cause and effect. I just think that all there is potential. You know, if you can start living through that, then it becomes easier. And you know, if you can see that potential can be good as well. A lot of people think, you know, the only potentials are bad. Oh, but if I go traveling and they list all the bad stuff that could happen, then that's it. They just do the cons. They forget about the pros, right? But imagine if you sat down and you wrote down, wow, all the good stuff that could happen. You know, then you'd have a different perspective. It definitely comes back to this programming, the self-talk, all that kind of stuff, and letting yourself be wrong, right? Letting yourself go, well, I stuffed that up. Wow, I got that really wrong. Because until you can do that, you can't change it. If you're always right, you're always stuck.
Interesting that you put it that way, Campbell. You know, you get trained to think, you know, the unknown. The unknown is scary because you start to expect all the bad things if you quit your job, or all the bad things if you leave a relationship, or all the bad things if you quit a habit. Instead of, you know, why don't you sit and wonder about all the good things? It's true. No, maybe this good thing will happen, and that good thing, and the other good thing is coming. And it's amazing the program we have, and I think that's the AI personally, or the artificial intelligence. Always news is bad, media is bad, newspapers are bad, politicians are bad, schooling is bad, limitations. You need to do this. You won't have money. You'll be dead. You know, if you don't listen to me, if you don't pay your bills, you're going to jail, whatever. If you don't get a license, you can't drive. Bad. You know, but the opposite, you know, and Dale, and responsibility. I love what Dale said personally. It's like he said, I don't know why I'm here, but it's my fault. I take full responsibility for the choices. And, you know, maybe that's how you get free, you know, full responsibility for your choices, whatever they are.
I totally agree, because if you're not responsible, if it's not your fault, again, you can't change it. You know, it's like Wayne Dwyer said, you know, like there's, you know, they tell us 8 billion people out there, right? And if the world's wrong, you've got to go change 8 billion people, you know, if it's their fault. But if it's your fault, well, you just got to change yourself, right? That's actually doable.
Yeah. Campbell, I'm stuck on what you said. You said if you're always right, you're always stuck. It's very, very true. Because that's another one I've thought about too. Because the need to be right means you're not open to other possibilities. So it's like you're limited straight away. You're finite. You put in another finite. I think that's a big one. That's a big one of just releasing and letting letting what will be, and if I got it wrong, I got it wrong, right? Who cares?
Yeah. And being right, you know,
and you can have it majorly wrong.
In that, yeah, it really comes down to, you know, the underlying thought is I want everyone to believe what I believe, really, isn't it? Because that's when you're right, when everyone agrees with you, right? Like, oh, I'm right. Look, everyone agrees with me. So all these debates, it's not about facts. It's about one person trying to get the other person to agree that they're right, that they're correct. Which, if you expand that out, that's saying the way I perceive reality is correct, right? You know, and if you're at that point, then you're in how do you change anything?
You know, there's a fellow in Japan who I like his art a lot.
I'm gonna.
Oh,
yeah, you were saying, Dale?
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm gonna my battery. I'm down to 3%.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we've done an hour. Yeah, let's wrap it up. Yeah. Any last words?
No, that's okay.
Okay, I'll just wrap it up. There's a fellow in Japan, right? And he's only got one arm. He lost an arm in World War II. He became one of the most famous cartoonists here. So I've got this hanging on my wall. It's basically a little boy looking at himself going, how am I wrong today? Right?
Nice.
Or how am I being stupid today? And, you know, my wife got this for me, and I hang it up on the wall because it's basically just a little boy looking at himself, sticking a tongue out at himself. And, you know, probably I remind myself of the little boy. And like Dale said, how am I wrong? You know, most people don't do that. They want to say how they're right. If you go how you're wrong, then your possibilities open up for a better life, for something new. Because if you've made a mistake, you can fix that mistake. I don't want to take up any more time. Dale maybe needs to share before he loses his battery, but I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, very well said. Well, yeah, look, I just enjoy it. I enjoyed having a chat again, guys.
Yes.
Yeah, it's excellent. I think we can just alter this reality. It's so cool. It's so fucking cool, isn't it? It's sorry, my language. It's so cool. We can, when you're in that flow and you know it,
yeah, man.
See what happens.
Change the wonder in your life, right? Change from I wonder what the hell's going on to wow, it's all wonderful, right?
It's all full of
wonder. Well, they say the devil's in the details, but God's also in the details, and right, you know, I think that's one of the mistaken quotes: is your life is in the details. You know, you change small things, and then the big things will look after themselves, right? Isn't that something Wayne Dyer said? You know, you look after the little things, and then the big things look after themselves. Look after the pennies, and the dollars will look after themselves. One of those old quotes. I figure that's the truth too. You know, change your small things, and the world. Yeah.
Focus on things you can actually affect, like yourself, and you're actually doing your thoughts. Cool. All righty.
All right.
Well, thank you, guys. That was cool. That was part 2. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Give us a like, subscribe, all that. I'll leave the links to Dale's channel and Lorenzo's below, so you can go and check them out. Make sure you do. And let us know when you're back in Oz. Maybe we'll have a chat in the future sometime, Dale. We'll get you back on.
Sounds like fun.
Excellent. Cool. Have a good day, guys.
It's good when men should be encouraging each other to have strong imagination. So this has been great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. All right. Catch you next time.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.